And here we go for another show. And so, everything's cool. Hey everybody. We are live once again from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Nice to have everyone here. And so here we start. Hello everybody, welcome to another Shortwave radio show. This is a show that we have every week, alternating Fridays, Saturdays. And I'll have a little bit of news with that coming up because this might change. I might be increasing my output of radio shows, being the most popular shows that I have on on the internet, on YouTube. You know what? It's something that I'm thinking of. So this is a Shortwave radio show. This is a show where we talk about radio, we talk about shortwave, and we talk about anything that has to do with radio. It's pretty cool. And we try to, give out information that the newbie will have. And you know what? Sometimes even information from a newbie point of view is sometimes helpful even for our experienced audience. We don't know everything about everything, so it's something that it's fun sometimes to learn stuff. And thank you everyone yesterday for those that were on the VHF UHF satellite tracking. That was really cool. But nice to have everybody on board. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And we're here to talk about, today, we're going to talk about the amateur radio bands on shortwave. Because last time we talked about the international broadcast bands, and it's pretty cool. A lot of you have sent me emails telling me, hey, really cool. You know what? I didn't know there were specific places for international broadcasts, and I've learned a lot. And today, well, you'll learn that basically there's a lot of stuff for amateur radio on the shortwave bands, and they are in specific places that you need to know. So, of course, we will take a look at that and hope you enjoy. And next show, we'll talk about where you find military stuff, maritime stuff, aeronautical frequencies, and a few other types of utilities that might be cool to monitor. So, there are specific bands, and of course there's some stuff everywhere also in between. So I hope you enjoy our show. Thank you all. Welcome aboard. This is a show that has no time limit, so it can go on for 2 hours, 3 hours. We've had a record-setting 5 hours at some point. So, you never know how long it can go. So hey there everyone, welcome to the chat room. I will say hello to Electrician Free Territory of Trieste. Nice to have you on board. Mark Schmidt from Maine, MDK2, hello there. PLF Radio in France, Nick Amendot from Romania, woohoo. KC Red Dragon, hello there. Andrew Foreman, nice to have you here. David Arden, nice to have you here from Atlanta, Georgia. Where do we have? We have also Jonathan George. Hello there from Great Britain. So nice to have you here. What else do we have? John Ritson, hello there. Joe Blais from Riverview, New Brunswick. Cool. Andrew Foreman is from Manitoba. Really nice. Fellow Canadians. DD2DR, Klaus is from Germany, and the Scotty Tier 6 from sunny Toronto. We are pretty much at sunny Montreal here too. Around 70, about 20-21 degrees, so about 70. Not bad weather, actually. Pretty cool. Where do we, what else do we have? We have Guy Kisnell, hello there. Nice to have you on board. AD6UP, Luis Arevallo, nice to have you here. FO Welsh from Ottawa, Canada, nice to have you here. Whoa, congratulations, Guy Kisnell has actually passed his tech ham exam today. Congratulations, this is cool. I really need to get into amateur radio. I really need to. Jason Roberts, hello there from West Virginia. Arthur JS123, hey there, nice to have you on board. Loving his Texan PL600, his first Texan. Do you know if the radio has the option to use wide filter for AM when using the ATS feature? It uses narrow. Yes, you should technically be using it. If you press at the bottom right, I believe, on the button, it will actually put the narrow, and then if you use it, I think it stays narrow. Not sure because I haven't noticed that, but I believe that if you press the bandwidth button, keep it wide, and use a feature, and I might be wrong. So if it's if you've tried that and say no, it changes. Oh, it's possible. It's possible. Maybe it uses narrow because it avoids adjacent interference that might make it stop on frequencies. I don't know, but try that out maybe. From Massachusetts, so hello there. Randall Klontz, hello there. Chicagoland. John Nicholas Sloverns from Germany. Steve Beat from Australia, nice to have you here. Racer's Edge Grinnan, hello there from Toronto. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? It has been defaulting on ATS to narrow. Ah, that's interesting. I've never noticed that actually. So that is interesting. I don't know if there's a way to change that, honestly. I'll have to check out my PL 660, 680 or something and check it out. Juan Amigo, hello there. Nice to have you here. And sorry yesterday for that unfortunate event where you got kicked out. And but we were able to bring you back to life in the chat room. So really nice. Sony ICF Shortwave 55 as a wide and narrow AM. Yeah, well, it has also on the Texan, but it's just that it seems that when he uses the ATS functionality, defaults to narrow. Kind of interesting. Patrick Connor, hello there. Nice to have you on board. Mohammad Riza, hello there. From Germany, near Dusseldorf. Cool. David Porch, hello there. Mick H, hello there. Good evening. Nice to have you on board. We're already just starting with Lion Share at 50 already, and we just started a few minutes ago. Jeff, KD5QDO, hello there from Groves, Texas. Skywave DXer from Wisconsin, hello there. So says, I love the radio. Arthur JS123 says, love the radio. It is the smallest True DX machine I've ever used. Sensitivity is amazing. Yeah, these Texans are just truly amazing for what they are. Really amazing. You know, just think about it. You know, going back in time 20 years and or 30 years, and you would have paid $400 or $500 to have something that was equivalent to that, and maybe not even this sensitive. It's just incredible how technology advanced and prices went down, really down. So John Redding, hello there from Hudson, Florida. F. Blassie or F. Blassie, nice to have you here. By the way, thank you for the donation that you have provided, much appreciated. No women, no women till tomorrow. That's the best way to watch my show, because most women and most people that are not into shortwave find this rather boring. So enjoy your man time and take care. You know, have a few beers and listen to shortwave as much as you want. It's time to do it. Ian Randall, hello there from Manchester, UK. Nintendo Mario 246, Austin, and 4KCS in Huntsville, Alabama, USA. Nice to have you here also. Pretty cool to have a nice crowd like that. So, F. Lassie says he's from Oakland, California, of course, and First Beer Open. And you go easy at it, because that means it's 1 p.m. over there. So, you know, go easy at it, because you'll get, you know, completely drunk before even the evening arrives. You know, I have a rule usually for alcohol intake. I was telling everybody once, we were talking about, you know, beer and all, And I was saying, well, except for these shows, I don't drink at home usually, almost never. And I'm more of a social type drinker. I like having a beer while doing this show. I like having beers when I go to the bar, stuff like that, with people around me. But alone I don't drink. And but I do have a rule. If I have to drink, my rule is before 3 p.m. I don't drink alcohol. That's the minimum for me. It's like, it has to be at least 3 p.m. Except there's a few rules that are the few times that rule doesn't exist. Christmas, my birthday, and maybe if I have a special event with some people, like we go out camping somewhere and we're having a lot of fun, maybe. But even then, usually I rarely, except for special events, I rarely take a beer before 3 p.m. usually. Here it's 4 p.m. local time now, and it's my first beer. Actually, I have a big fin du monde, a big fin du monde, so it's like 2 glasses of beer during the show. Hey, Carl Sansom, nice to have you here. Hamrad, hey there, nice to have you on board. Hamrad88, great channel. For those that don't know, he's got a fantastic channel, radio channel, from Tampa Bay, Florida. Nice to have you here. Really, really cool to have everybody on board. So today we'll talk about the amateur radio bands, and basically we will be examining each amateur radio band on Shortwave. And is that a bit of product placement? I don't see it. No, it's not really a product placement. That would be too cool to have product placement, like WD-40 or, I don't know, some kind of... if you'll know it's product placement, when? The day that I have, I don't know, a Tide bottle here to make your... when you want to do your washing, or, some kind of shampoo, then you'll know I have... Why do you have a bottle of shampoo right here? It's like... No reason. But now you feel like you want to have it to clean yourself or wash your hair. That will be product placement. But of course, you know what? A WD-40 would probably get more in sync with us guys with what we're doing, basically. It would be too beautiful, basically, that it would be a product placement. I can tell you that. So yes, I will go to Germany for beer. I need to do that. I've heard so much about all of that. So I actually need, I've never been to Europe. I really need someday to take the time and go to Europe, and I would like to see so many countries in Europe. And being a shortwave listener where you're listening to the world, of course, there's something cool about, hey, I've listened to these countries on radio. I have traveled via radio waves, but going there and actually visiting. So it's so much different. It's really, really something that I would need to do. So well, oh, cool. John Ritson says it's cool. I had an email, but it's not the first time that I got one. I had a few emails from people saying that they don't like the fact that I drink during the show, and so I've kind of replied back that I do not plan on not drinking during the show, but I do plan maybe go easy at it. It seems some people are very sensitive with that issue, and I understand. It's it's not everybody's thing, and there are people that are let's face it, some people are ex might be ex-drinkers that have a lot of problem with that, and so there's a lot of stuff that but it's not the first time that I've had many emails of people saying you shouldn't drink during live shows and it's not kind of cool. Well, it's just as long as I don't start sleeping while the show's going on, I guess, or if I lose it. So, okay. What else do we have before we continue? Of course, there's a lot of people saying to stop mentioning the people in the chat room. It's boring. No, actually, it's my thing. I like that, and it makes everybody feel welcome, and that will never change. The quick 512. Hey there, nice to have you here. If I miss anybody, by the way, just say hi. Richard Trill, hello there. VA2RHT, nice to have you on board. Really cool to have everybody here, and really nice. So pretty cool, Carl. You know, congratulations on passing your technical class license. Really cool to see this. Very nice. What else do we have here? Yeah, something like that. Hey, Carol T, nice to have you here. WD-40 or a can of air, compressed air, or soldering products of some sort, you know, or a soldering iron, you know, with that you see the brand on it or something. That would be the kind of stuff for this show, I gotta say. WD-40 for what? Actually, it's there because my bike lock was jammed. So when I was able to unjam it, I passed a lot of WD-40 inside it, cleaned all the mechanism inside, and now it works perfectly. But I use WD-40 for a lot of stuff. I mean, it's WD-40 is that use it for everything. You know, it's almost if you can use it for cooking. You know, I just coat a little bit of WD-40 and my pancakes don't. You know. Oh God, I'm not sure I want to taste pancakes with WD-40. DD2DR class says it's too hot, 90 Fahrenheit. Wow, that's hot. Here about 70, so it's not too bad. Well, you know, I think it's like Carol says, we like the fact we're mentioned in the video. I think it feels like a family. It feels like everybody's welcome, everybody's important. I like that, basically. You know? Hey, Cosmic Lettuce, nice to have you here. So, really nice, Southeast Arizona. So, pretty cool to have everyone here. So, hey there, Jerry Ball from Milcom 1970. Nice to have you on board. Been a while. Ralph Bender, hello there from Germany. Lots of people from Germany today. Interesting. I'm getting a German audience. Antonios Kikalos, hello there. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool. So, okay. The amateur radio bands are part of the shortwave bands, of course. They are, for me, an essential part of my shortwave listening. And as far back as I can remember, I enjoyed listening to international broadcasters. But I also enjoyed and did a lot of listening of amateur radio bands. Just gonna turn this down a little bit. Radio Kuwait, by the way, with pop music, 15540. Very strong signal here in Montreal. Radio Kuwait, 15540 with pop music right now. So as long as, you know, as far back as I can remember, I can tell you it's the amateur bands were part of something that I enjoyed listening. It started with listening to the 80 meter band and hearing some local nets that I found so cool, and then listening to the different amateur bands and starting to listen to AMs from the United States and from around the world. And learning and seeing all of that wonderful world that is the shortwave, the amateur radio community on shortwave. So it's really nice to have that on the shortwave bands, and it's something that I've always been very, very, very interested about. Hey, Gerald Burns, another one from Germany. Cool. Bring him on. I want to have all of Germany watching. Skywave DXers from the United States and Wisconsin. Yeah, I think we said that a little earlier, if I'm not mistaken. So, basically, hey Fastlow, nice to have you on board. Hope your swimming pool's getting, getting ready for the summer, as I was seeing that you were using your little TRX1 on the Facebook picture. Mike Westerfield, hey there, nice to have you on board. We'll be drinking also. So, cool. I don't want to promote. The thing here is not to promote alcohol, by the way, at all. It's just that, I find that it's kind of cool. A bunch of guys and girls, and we're having fun, and, as long as we stay in the limits of being reasonable. So, Guten Abend from DL3BAN. Pretty cool. Nice to have your amateur radio call signs, by the way. So, really nice, really nice. So, I'm happy that the cow is a vegetarian, so I don't have to be. So, okay, in my, none of those electrician free, I don't like most of our lab ed stuff. I am a more of a small brewery type guy. Actually, this is from Unibrew, which is a Quebec brewery. But it was bought by Sleeman, which I believe is a Ontario beer company. But you know what I like about Sleeman? They kept the products, and they kept the small brewery style that Unibrew was, and even the Quebec identity of it. So it's kind of cool. They respect the brand, and it's very nice. So it's very, very nice. Okay. Well, Carol's that's the summer, the sad summer thing. As Carol's saying, speaking of getting ready for summer, having our first real wildfire here and there, 30 miles away. As long as it stays a little, far away, I hope everything is all right. Skywave DXer is KK4HPY. Cool. That is nice. Yeah, for 1090 megahertz, you need a good coax for that. LRM 400 or anything that's not just regular, because there's a lot of loss above 1 gigahertz on regular coax. Hey, Jane Dagger, nice to have you here. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And pretty nice to have all of you. So, Joe KM6BHJ, nice to have you here. And some people are saying that 14305 or something. So if you guys want to, pretty cool. So on the amateur bands, what do we have? We have, of course, several amateur bands, and we're going to start with the top band, the one at the highest frequency range, the one that I don't know how many times I get messages of people saying, well, that band is dead and will be dead for the next few years. Why the hell bother listening? And if you tell me that, it just shows me that you have no idea how propagation works. You have no idea about really, the radio spectrum in general. And I can tell you one thing. It is one of my favorite bands. One of my favorite bands. And it is the 10-meter amateur radio band. So that band starts at 28 megahertz, goes all the way up to 29.7 megahertz. It's a very, very, very big band. It's probably the biggest in the HF spectrum. A full 1.7 megahertz dedicated to an amateur band. And it is, of course, like every band will kind of, talk about how it's divided a little bit. So you've got the lower part of the 28 megahertz band, 28 to 28, 200 maybe, which is CW. In there you've got 28070 to 28150 that has radio teletype and all sorts of digital modes. And there's beacons, a lot of beacons for propagation conditions. Beacons are really, really nice for that. It's between about 28150 all the way up to 28300. You will have a certain number of beacons that are there 24 hours a day. So you want to see if propagation works. For example, I would like to know, is the 10 meter band open? I'll go at 28150 here, for example, and put myself in upper sideband, and I'll tune it to 28300. And if I hear something, these are local interference. So right now I hear absolutely nothing. Okay, good chance that the band is not open right now. Okay, but if you want to know if it's open, take a listen regularly from 28150 to 28300. There are some beacons scattered all around the world. You might hear some Morse code IDs. That will actually give you an idea of, okay, the band is open. But not just that. Beacons are even more interesting for another reason. They also will tell you from what region it's open. So you might hear beacons from the United States, for example. You know it's open from where you are to the US. But you might hear European beacons. And you're like, oh, I'm hearing a beacon from France or Italy or UK. It's like, oh, 10 meter band is open between me and Europe. So there's that you got to listen to regularly. Of course, above 28300, most of the rest of the band up to 29 megahertz, upper sideband. That's pretty much your rule. Voice communications and upper sideband. 28680, the slow scan TV frequency for 10 meters. And 29 to 29200 AM mode. And when propagation is good, I actually hear a lot of AMers at the bottom of 29 megahertz. 29300, 29500, there's some satellite downlinks. There are some amateur satellites, like we were listening yesterday. And some satellites are avid downlink there in the 10 meter band, but it doesn't happen often. There's not a lot of satellites that do. And after 29500, technically, you're pretty much in FM world. There's FM simplex on 29600, so it's one of the rare bands that actually has an FM mode. There's repeaters, 29600 to 29700. There's some repeaters there. Sorry. So basically, it's one of those bands to listen to and to try out. The bands, the 10 meter band, okay, might look dead sometimes, and it's not. And that's the biggest problem with the 10 meter band, is people, amateur radio operators don't take the time to listen enough or to try it. If I'd be a ham operator, I think I'd try 10 meters at least every day. Even if I don't get a reply back, I was just like, okay, nothing. But I've heard many amateur operators say, you know what? I decided to send a call. I thought the band was dead because I didn't hear anything. And it's actually open. And that's the biggest problem about 10 meter. Is that the 10 meter band might look dead. It's often not. So amateur operators tend to not go there very often. Carol had a very great comment. 10 meters seems to magically open when there's contests. And you know what? It happens very often. Very often, there's a weekend ARRL phone contest or CW contest or some sort. And, on Friday you listen, there's nothing. And on Saturday you listen, There's 400 million amateur operators on it, and you're like, okay. So sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's really dead, but sometimes it's like someone decides, well, let's try out the 10-meter band. And one of the things that is interesting about the 10-meter band is that it can light up, it can open up anytime also, even when it's not open. Now, one of the things I was reading, and actually it's a comment on the channel, my Shortwave channel. I posted a video about every amateur band. And I got a lot of replies, by the way, of amateur operators saying, you know what, your videos of the amateur band are so good because they help me learn the different amateur bands and the modes and everything, and the propagation. I even had some of you say, "Oh man, you know what? Those videos of the amateur bands, they helped me pass my amateur exam, because I understood something in your video that I did not understand in the book." Watching a video, somebody explain it, and watching or reading a book is often very different, and we have our different minds. Some people actually learn more by having somebody explain to them via video or audio than a book. And also, that's also the important thing, is that there's often, some people have a different way of explaining something, and then suddenly someone will say, "Oh, wow, okay, he explained it in a way that now I understand what he means." And by the way, I'll come to questions just after. I just stopped the chat right now at a certain point, and as I'm going through the different bands, I'll answer the questions if anybody has questions on that. So it's a band that can open at any time because there's a phenomenon called sporadic E-skip. The 10-meter band is very sensitive to that. Sporadic E-skip means you might have no 10-meter opening at a certain point, and you listen half an hour later and it's full of signals. And that is something that is, you gotta listen regularly, you gotta check it out. There's a website called dxmaps.com, dxmaps.com, that actually tell you when there's openings of sporadic E-skip, and you can check the amateur band and say, oh, okay, I'm going to check the 10-meter band, or are there some contacts? And on the map, you'll see if there's contacts. If the map is clear, there's nothing. Okay, no contacts right now. Then suddenly you might see a patch of contacts from a certain area. That area might have sporadic E-skip. In the summertime, right now, June, July are fantastic months for that. Sporadic E-skip is something to check for. It happens very, very, very often in the summertime. There's another part around Christmas. It can happen, but remember that it can happen at any time and any day and any month of the year. Sporadic E-skip will fire up the 10-meter band, and suddenly there's tons of signals. Now, what's the difference? How do you know if it's a sporadic E-skip you're listening to or regular skip and there's propagation everywhere to the 10-meter band? Usually, sporadic E-skip will give signals from a specific area. So that means you'll listen to, for example, I will listen to the 10-meter band. Suddenly I start listening and I start hearing AM stations, and they're all from Texas and Alabama. But I don't hear on any other state. I don't hear any other countries. Well, that's because Alabama and Texas, the sporadic E-skip is from Montreal to that area. The sporadic E-skip, that ionized cloud that propagates the 10-meter band, is giving that type of contact here. And usually on a site like dxmaps.com, you will see patches. You will see where it is. So it can fire up at any time. One of the funny things that I do to see if 10-meter could be open is I listen to the channel 6 on CB. Here in North America, channel 6, it lights up with tons and tons of skips stations from southern U.S. states, or even more northerly U.S. states like New York and so on, depending on the patch of E-skip. When channel 6 is lit up with signals, Well, I know one thing: the 10-meter band is also lit up, and the 10-meter band is working. So I will go to the 10-meter band and I will start checking out what I can hear. One thing that I've seen so many comments on the channel, people posting on my channel, oh, we're now going into the slump of the solar activity. 10 meters is dead for many years. Why bother? And that just shows how there's no knowledge of propagation and how things work when you say something like that. Yes, the downward spiral of solar cycle that we're going through right now, we're going to hit rock bottom in a couple of years. Will, of course, make the 10-meter band less often a band that is open for propagation, from far away. And by the way, you can still use it to make, contacts within a city, for example. It will work, from eye of sight communications. But you know what? A solar cycle, the way it works is that it often has little peaks even in the bottom. So that means you might be several months without, good propagation of the 10-meter band, but there might be suddenly a sunspot that appears, and for a week and a half, 10 meters open, tons of signals, and then it will fade out again. So that's one thing that's possible. Also, what's possible is Particle E-skip that happens quite regularly, and in the summertime I hear 10-meter band being open very, very regularly, almost every week. And the fact that people say, well, it's always dead, well, it just shows me, well, you're not listening enough. You're not going to the 10-meter band enough. Because obviously, I remember one comment that I got. Somebody said, well, I was listening yesterday, it was dead. And I was listening, and I tried a month ago, it was dead. So it's always dead. And I said, well, it's open right now while I'm writing the comment, because I checked. And there were some AM stations there. And a week before I had heard some signals. It's like, yeah, if you listen once every 6 months, you'll never know if it's open or not. But if you listen regularly, you know what? You're going to see that it is open much more often than you think. Thank you, Matthew Kelleher, for your donation through PayPal. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Okay. Answering a question that I've seen from, I believe it's PLF Radio. The beacons. I'm just going to try. By the way, hello there, Simon Templar. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool. I just want to see something here. Okay. Just trying to find the things. Hey, Bullfrog89, nice to have you on board, as usual. Okay. I saw something from PLF Radio, I think. I believe it was about the beacons. And I'm trying to find the exact question again. It must be somewhere. Darn. So, everybody, nice to have you here. So, Bullfrog KD2CXU, nice to have you here. Jane Dyer's making stew. Okay, I'm inviting myself for supper. Okay, I believe PLF Radio's asked something about the beacons, and it is, God, I hate it when I lose a little bit of the chat somewhere. So can I oh, SG2 East Nebraska, and sorry, I forgot to open. Thanks, Scotty Tier 6, for letting me know, by the way. I completely forgot to open the IRC chat. And I'm coming right now, guys. Sorry. Completely forgot. And all of the things that I had to prepare. SW. Here we go. So hey guys, sorry I had forgotten to open the IRC chat. So SG2A's Nebraska, nice to have you here. So anyways, the hey there, William Helms, nice to have you here, by the way. And so PLF radio, okay, what kind of beacons are on 10 meters? These are amateur radio beacons, okay? They are beacons that are pretty much in Morse code, and what they are is simply an amateur radio operator decided to put a little, 5 watt or 1 watt or some more. They're very low power in general. 1 watt, 2 watts, 5 watts. Some are even below a watt. Some are like a quarter watt, 250 milliwatts. And they are put up by amateur station. So any amateur station that is licensed can actually put a beacon on the 10 meter band. So most of them do it because they like the hobby and they like, okay, I'm going to put a beacon on the air 24 hours a day. So like that, people can use my beacon to understand if propagation is working. So it's pretty cool and really, really nice. By the way, the PL660 does go up to the 10 meter band, does go up to 28, 29 megahertz. Yes, it does. I'm pretty sure. So so the beacons are nice because they are fun for that. One of the things that Electrician Free Territory says, listen to the Pirate DX calling frequency 27555. If you hear people there, that's another way. That Pirate frequency. If you hear activity there, that 10 meter band is open also. That's another way of doing it. So it's really really cool. So Mike Westerfield, how old am I? If it's directed to me, I'm 48 years old. Been listening to shortwave actively since 1982. So when I was 13 years old. So it's interesting to tune around, and the 10 meter band is an amazing band because it's one of the bands that when it actually is open, it's one of the bands you can actually just use 10 watts and talk all around the world. It's just amazing. And there's of course patterns of propagation. Usually I hear more DX. It's because of solar radiation, the way it works. Depending on where you are, I usually hear more DX stations from Europe and different parts of the world in the winter time than I will in the summertime. But in the summertime, the sporadic E-skip very often will give me some interesting stuff. One of the things that I enjoyed, I have a few scanners here that actually go on FM. That they don't have sideband or the regular scanners that just have AM, FM, and some of them go to 29 megahertz. And I remember when propagation, when 10 meters open, I like to listen to I go with one of my scanners and hear the 10 meter repeaters on FM mode on the top part. So remember, 10 meter band, okay, if you think it's a dead band, if you think it's something that's not worth taking the time, you are not a good amateur radio operator, okay? You think you know it, but you don't know what you're talking about if you say that. That's all I gotta say. And I'm gonna get ranting about that. I got ranting on the 10 meter video from amateur stations that think they know it all, and it's like, well, if you want to miss and not listen to it, it's your problem. You know what? You're missing some great activity on the 10 meter band. Yes, it's pretty much dead right now. But I can tell you one thing. I can bet you that in the next week or two, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 occasions where it's going to be open. It was open yesterday morning. And actually it's Fastload that posted on Facebook, hey, there's some 11 meter activity. And I looked, channel 6 was alive, and of course I went to the 10 meter band, and behold, there were some hams talking around 28,450 that were from the US. So it's kind of cool, it was open yesterday. Hey there, K6YYL. Nice to have you on board, and it's always cool to have you here, Kimberly. And she says 6 meters has been open a lot lately, by the way. So that's also something to look for. One of the things, I'm not going to talk much about 6 meters because it technically ain't on shortwave. But 6 meters is the 50 to 54 megahertz amateur range of frequencies. And I got to say one thing: if you got 6 meter capability, when 10 meters open, go take a peek at 6 meters. Could be very surprising. And yesterday morning, once again, I heard some really weak. I never got the identification, but there was a very weak station that I could hear at 50.133 upper sideband. Yesterday morning. So you got to take the time. You got to take the time to do so. One thing I got to say also, because there's a convention here, and sometimes it mixes up people. Okay, because you know what, I just saw John Ritson tell Jane Dagger, 1,000 kilohertz and 1 megahertz, and okay. Thank you for doing that, because you know what, it sometimes makes you realize that you don't that there are some little things that people don't understand, and it's easy when you know more of what you're talking about to overlook a very simple fact that a lot of people don't, newbies to the hobby don't necessarily understand. And it's the frequency. So I'm talking about the 10 meter band, 28 to 29.7. Okay, it is also, and that's in megahertz, but a lot of receivers are in kilohertz. A lot of receivers will report their frequency in kilohertz. And let me just do the example live here. Okay, I'll take my PL 680 radio. Okay, so if I take my PL 680 right here, my PL 680, if I type in 28000, it is at 28 megahertz. It's just that the PL 680 and the PL 660 report their frequencies in kilohertz. So when I say 28 megahertz, it's also equivalent to 28,000 kilohertz. So when you see 28000 on your display, like this, that is 28 megahertz. But it's also known as 28,000 kilohertz. So the 10 meter band goes from 28,000 to 29,700. That's what you got to know. So if I wanted to listen to a 10 meter frequency of 28,500, so if I'd say 28.500, it's 28,500 kilohertz also. It's just a conversion thing, kilohertz, megahertz. So if I want to listen to a ham at 28,500, I just type 28500, press the enter key. Of course, I'd put my radio in upper sideband, and I'm tuned to the 10 meter band. So that's one thing to understand, and you know what? Thank you for posting that, because it's easy to overlook things like that can be very, very difficult to understand when you're not used to the conversion. I remember when I started listening to shortwave, the conversion between, okay, this station reports that they are in the 31 meter band. Where the hell is that? And of course, with time, you learn that, 31 meter band is the 9 megahertz international broadcast band. But at first it's like 31 meters. Where's that? Where can I find information of what is that? I don't know. And the same thing is here. It's like you have receivers, old radios, that will say 29.62, and sometimes it's MC for megacycles, sometimes it's MHZ for megahertz. And you're like, okay, 29.62 is actually 29,620 kilohertz. It's a metric thing. It's a very, conversion thing. So 1,000 kilohertz is 1 megahertz. It's the same thing. So I'll try to use both conventions here. I said 28 to 29.7. Or on a receiver like the PL660, you would punch in 28,000 and go up to 29,700. That covers the 10 meter amateur band. So that's interesting to add here, because a lot of people, of course, would maybe miss out on what I'm saying because they just don't understand that what I'm saying is actually a frequency you are in. So thank you for that. So it's pretty cool. So, okay. What else do we have? So, okay, I'm just going to check the chat room quick, if anything else. So okay, that we're really, in computer speaking and frequency is not the same thing. Okay, don't mix up anything. 1024, that's a kilobyte, and it is the way that we do it in computers and technology. It's not the same as frequencies. Frequencies are metric system type things. So it's, kilohertz. And so if I say, 1 megahertz, it's 1,000 kilohertz. So it's 1 million hertz. It's just moving the numbers around here. Okay. So, you just got to be careful, and I think that's the that's the interesting. So it's slowly you'll get it, and everybody it's something new. It's something that when you start listening, there are some little technical terms and complexities like this that are not that difficult, but it's easy to get out of there. But don't mix computer stuff and radio stuff, okay? In computers, a kilobyte is 1024. And that's because we're talking about kilobytes, which are not... It's very complex. Just keep the computer stuff at itself. In the radio stuff, you are just moving around the number, the zeros, okay? You add zeros or remove zeros, but it's very, very. So basically, just remember that 1 megahertz is 1,000 kilohertz. So if I say, have you listened to 23 megahertz? You know that on your PL660 it means have you listened to 23,000 kilohertz. Same thing, okay? So it's it's something you got to just remember, and that's the important thing here. Hey Jerry DX, nice to have you on board. By the way, thanks for the net list, because you know what, I've been looking for a list of nets. And I always enjoyed. There was one fantastic list, but it was abandoned basically, and there were no more updates to it. So Alex Canavos, hello there. Hey Royal Howard, nice to have you here from Connecticut. Nice to have you on board, and pretty cool to have everybody here as usual. So. Yeah, it's like those metric things, when you'll get 1,000 milliliters for a liter and so on. But let's stay in the radio stuff, okay? So 1 megahertz is 1,000 kilohertz, is 1 million hertz. It's just moving the zeros around, and it's always nice to but sometimes it's easy to really forget these little simple things for a lot of us. But remember 30 years ago when I started listening to shortwave, these were things that were a little different. I remember having a what was 9 megahertz or 9.6 kilocycles. You had, and there was also all sorts of terms back then. 9,600 kc, kilocycles. What is that? Is that the same as kilohertz? Why the hell they're using a different? Because there was also a mix of old terms from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and radio terms, and new terms and everything. And man, it's like a little crazy here at some point, but it's pretty cool. Truth or Dare. I'm not sure I want to play that live. Oh God. So what else? Michael Palmquist, nice to have you here. Yesu FT707. Anybody have some Yesu? Usually the Yesu rigs are pretty good in general. Mike Westerfield, what I do for a living? Pretty much YouTube. I'm trying anyways. That's why I'm poor and have no money and have to ask for donations. But I'm trying, I'm trying something. I am a tech guy in life, but I've kind of really slowed down the tech guy duties because, when you do tech jobs all the time, you get at some point where you're a little annoyed and kind of get fluff. It gets on your nerves at some point. And I had to kind of just, take, and I'm trying something with YouTube, which, needs to be MDK2 only if you had more beer. Oh, God. Okay, after 10 beers, let's play Truth or Dare. I'm not sure. So, welcome everybody on board. Hello there, Carlos Jimenez. Nice to have you here. Yep, technically for the meter bands is the speed of light divided by the wavelength. So it's that's the way that you get the meter band. It's really some physics here, So I've not had time to play a lot with it, Jerry. I just noticed one thing, Jerry, that was funny, is that the new app that I installed yesterday woke me up at 3 in the morning to tell me that the International Space Station was just about to pass over Montreal, and I was like, okay, no, I don't want to be woken up every time the International Space Station comes over. So. So where's Minu? He's sleeping in the living room right now. He wanted to go out, and he looked so sad because he wanted to go out so bad. But there's the bad guy in the backyard right now fixing his lawn with his witch or wife. I should not say witch. Actually, I should say witch. And so I didn't want to let the cat out because I know he would go crazy. Paul the cat has this way of sitting down right next to the fence and looking at them. And I see that it's driving him mad, so I'm trying to lower the pressure by just, sorry kitty, I'll let you out tonight. But you got to stay in the house for now because that guy and his witch is there, unfortunately. Yeah, Cosmic Lettuce, money is overrated. I am totally I agree with 100% with that. The biggest problem is that when you got none of it, it's kind of difficult to pay your bills. Oh, God. Okay. No, I just listened, Jane Dagger. For now, I transmit on CB. I got a CB, but that's all. I need to become a ham radio operator at some point for sure. I think that'd be cool. So, but for now, it's mostly listening. Mostly listening. So, what else do we have? We're going to continue with the bands. Fabio Rodella, hello there. Nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. And once again, the clocks are perfectly synced. Wow, really? It's kind of interesting. There should be at least a little bit of delay, I would say, because... yeah, Jerry, that's it. I can't miss the International Space Station for sure. Oh, I got, hey, man, Radio DX, nice to have you here. So, you know, which? which is which? Oh, God. What else do we have? Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, Jane Dagger. It sucks when you have it and awesome when you need it. So, nice to have you here. Okay, what else? Do you work 27555? Nope. Bubba, Seattle. I don't have any equipment that transmits there. Would I? Who knows? Well, you know, Jerry, I've heard some drunk amateur operators on the bands, especially on 80 meters at 1 in the morning. A few of them are really annoying. I would not be that type of am. I can tell you that. Okay, is the CB band an amateur band? No, it's not PLF radio. The CB band is a CB is for it's the Citizens Band. It's a system that was started back in, I don't know, the 50s, 60s, the CB band. I don't remember when it was actually enforced, but at first you needed it used to be a ham band. Are you sure, Simon Templar? I didn't know. It used to be a ham band. So it's taken away from amateur radio to become a CB band. Huh, that's interesting. And so basically, it required a license before. Now no license required anymore here. I don't believe in the United States either. So it's not an amateur band. It's really more of a two-way communications that was kind of invented to put there for families to communicate and small businesses and stuff like that. But it is not an amateur band. When I talk of amateur radio band, it's mostly bands. I mostly mean bands that are there for that you need a license, requires a license to be here. Hey, Danny, Shortwave Radio DX, nice to have you here. So truck drivers. Yeah, truck drivers are often using the CB band. It was really for practical purpose. To communicate with families and friends, basically. So really, so it's not an amateur band. Okay, nowadays, yeah, exactly. Like Scotty Tier 6, CB is now FRS. It's pretty much changed to that UHF thing, FRS, which is a family radio service, which is so much better than the CB back then for range. But, hey, Paul A. Steckler, nice to have you on board. The FRS is a band in the UHF range. I can show you guys one FRS little radio. I've got one here. So, this is an FRS. It's what's called a family radio service. And so you got these little things like this. This one has 22 channels. This one has 3 watts, 4 watts, something like that. And there's no license. No license in Canada, but I believe in the United States there was some need for a license for FRS. Here in Canada we don't need a license for this. And so this one is like 3 or 4 watts, and it is it's a nice little communications device. I mean, the packages are way overrated. Like, oh, 25 miles, yeah, right. When there's water and the wind is blowing from the southeast at 4 kilometers per hour, maybe it's 22 miles. But in real world, it's 5 miles. Maybe 10 if you're at a good place, So, are FRS radios in Canada same as in the US? From what I know, they're same frequency ranges. It's just that in Canada, we have no license requirements. Also, there's a major difference. FRS in the United States, you guys can have repeaters to cover long range. In Canada, repeaters are forbidden on the FRS frequencies. You cannot have a repeater here. So, this one is more of a because there's FRS and there's GMRS. This one is a GMRS because it has the 22 channels. The FRS, I believe, is just the 14 channels. And the regular FRS, I believe, is very low power, like 500 milliwatts. This one goes up to, this one is 3 or 4 watts. It's more powerful. That's a good question. Is FRS the same as PMR? Can anybody answer that question? They are line of sight, totally. Okay, so the FRS, no license, but the GMRS, so this one is a GMRS, meaning in Canada, we still don't need a license, but in the United States, this would require a license to have it work. So, that's interesting. Because here in Canada, even the GMRS one is a non-licensed thing. They just, and it's pretty amazing. The range is kind of cool. The range is kind of cool on this. So yeah, this is 23 or 22. I believe it's 22 on this one. Yep, channel 1 to 22. So and there is a requirement between channel 7 and 14, I believe. It's 500 milliwatts maximum. That range, 7 to 14, is 500 milliwatts. 1 to 7 and 15, 1 to 6 and 15 to 22 is 3 or 4 watts. But these are amazing. These are really amazing. Do you want me to transmit again on 3775? Let's check it out. 3.775 lower sideband. On there. Not hearing anything right now. So, but these are a good, cool little things to have. And actually, I got a pair here. I got 4 actually. And so when you go somewhere, you go up to the woods, or you go, one of the things that I like to do a lot is send model rockets. I've got these little motors here for model rocketry. And because there's always people far back that are there to actually catch and bring back the rockets when they come back down, I always have these little radios so we can actually talk with each other while we're getting the rockets back. And they are very, very very different than CB radios, because these GMRS, FRS operate on 450, 460 megahertz in the UHF range. No, I didn't hear a thing, Richard. Can you try a 40 meter frequency by chance? I haven't heard a thing on 3775. My noise floor is at about S7 on that frequency. Maybe you can try a 40 meter frequency. Yep, it's really UHF stuff. So 7130. Okay, let's check it out. 7130. Not hearing anything. Unfortunately, I am in lower sideband. Yep. Not hearing anything right now. Hey, Raymond Price, nice to have you here. Says 20 meters is active. Oh yeah, Danny, Shortwave. I still love doing it. I haven't done it in a while now, but I love doing those. Before I would buy the model rockets that you buy in the package. But today I take tubes that I get, cardboard tubes from different rolls of, like all sorts of, cellophane paper rolls and stuff like that, and build my own rockets out of that. And me and my nephews, we used to do it a lot. I mean, it was the weekend activity, going to the park, launch the rockets and everything. But I haven't done it in a little while now. It's really, yeah, Estes rockets. Estes rockets, exactly, Estes. This is, I believe, comes from that company. Yeah, Estes, look at that. It's it is the brand. But unfortunately, these motors, are almost impossible to get here now, because no hobby shop wants those, because they are technically, things that could catch fire and explode or something. They were saying that no hobby shop now wants to have them in stock, because their insurance skyrockets, or even some insurance companies don't want to insure them, because they have those in stock inside their business. So it's almost impossible to get, and I can't get them and have them sent to me. It's illegal to have those in trucks, like UPS trucks. So it's getting very difficult to get those here. Really difficult. So, hey PK47, nice to have you here. Got a Yistu FT707 and it worked, but the mode switch frequency and PS all blew seemingly at once. Whoa, okay. Yeah, the Rocket Man. The Rocket Man. Okay, let's continue our exploration of the amateur bands, and the next one is slightly lower, and yep, balsa wood and cardboard tubes. You just get that, and you just build yourself rockets and have fun. I can tell you that. Yeah, Mick, the insurance skyrockets when you see that. It's there. I like that. Hey, Ghost World, nice to have you here. PSK31 on 40 meters yesterday was really nice, really active. PSK31 is very nice on a lot of bands, 20 meters, 40 meters. Often lots of activity. So it's really nice. Hey there, Nick Casarino, RF Burns. Nice to have you on board from the County Com radio. Really nice to have the GP5. Thank you again. This is a prized little radio for me. Really love this. I'm still waiting to get to Perry Island to try it out on wire antenna in the expedition. So welcome aboard as usual. And so really nice. Okay. I've seen some new ICOM R8600 on YouTube, Paul. Unfortunately, I do not have the money to buy that at all. So it's not going to be part of my radios for now. But yeah, model rocketry. Hey, David in Barcelona, nice to have you on board. Model rocketry. It's kind of cool, you know. I did so much of that. Built very small, you know, rockets so they go as high as possible, and all sorts of experiments. It's pretty cool. Really, very nice. Okay, next band below the 10-meter band is a 12-meter band. The 12-meter band goes from 24,890 to 24,990. It's just a 100 kilohertz band. So 24.890 to 24.990. 100 kilohertz. It's what's called a WARC band. It was a band that was added after at the WARC convention when they talked about it. And so this is one of the bands, by the way, that has a special it's actually a band that you cannot contest on. So when there are some major contests, the WARC bands are the bands that are not allowed in pretty much every contest. So 12 meters, 24.890 to 24.990, shares some of the propagation characteristics of the 10-meter band, but it is, of course, divided pretty much in the lower part is CW, you know, around 24.890, just a little higher. There's some radio teletype in packet, 24.920 to 24.930, and above 24.930 is mostly upper sideband communications. So it is a interesting band. You know, it's more of a band where you'll get some interesting, you know, communications, lots of conversations going on, some DX stuff. It's kind of nice to see. It's one of those little seldom looked band. Many bands just don't, you know, or many AMs don't look at that band, and you know, it's interesting what you can hear there. When 10 meters open, one of the things you'll want to do is go to the 12-meter band and check it out. Surprising, you can have interesting contacts there, and it's not. And if you have, the funny thing of that band, if you have an older radio, an older transceiver, the 12-meter band might not be part of it because it didn't exist up to a certain point. And it's more of the newer radios that have got these WARC bands integrated into them, for sure. Hey, Ghost World. Yes, I will talk about the 60-meter band. You know, I'm going from 10 meters up, going down. So we're slowly going down. We're going to go a little faster because I mean we're at an hour and 2 bands only done. So we'll try to go a little faster. But same thing. Skywave DX are. A lot of people don't have 60 meters on their radios to transmit on. So yep. So we will, of course, go to the 60-meter band as we're going down. So for sure. Okay, so WARC band 24.890 to 24.990. Let's just tune it here to see if I can hear something. But 10 meters not open. We'll see if anything here. So I don't hear anything there, which is kind of to expect a little bit. So yeah, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun, Scotty Tier 6, about that. By the way, before we continue into the 15-meter band, I don't want to annoy too much about that, but if you like what I do, donations are welcome through PayPal at the Yahoo email that I'm posting into the chat. And also, you can help me at patreon.com, where you can become a patron and help me out. So that's a cool way to help me out and help me continue doing what I do and doing these live shows. And soon, maybe we'll have more shows. I'm going to talk about it later, but we might have more shows. So it's something that will happen probably starting maybe in August. So it's going to be cool. And thank you for everybody that has donated already. Really, really cool. Hey, Tom Perks, nice to have you on board. Has been getting a lot of Sportic e-skip this month in Ontario and here in Southern States. Yep, yesterday morning here in Montreal. So we're often close enough to have the same patterns of Sportic e-skip. Boy, I love Sportic e-skip. That's the kind of thing that just drives me to my radio. It's just so much fun. So much fun. So, yeah, no problem, Ghost World. Thank you for that. You know, I get regular donations from a lot of people, so it's really nice. It's nice to see that there's a lot of support in what I do, and it's really, really welcome. Everybody, thank you very much for those that donated. And, you know, if you like what I do, been following me for a while, why not think about it, a little something, you know, and it doesn't have to be a lot. You can give me $1 and that's enough, you know. It's like, if everybody would give a small amount, it amounts to a big amount at some point. And it helps me continue in what I do. So, yeah, Sportic e-skip, Tom, is fantastically fun. You know, once it fires up, you know, I'm always amazed at, you know, like the 10-meter band, for example, that is dead. And then you're tuning your receiver at, I don't know, it's 11 p.m. at night, where the 10-meter band usually is dead because, you know, in the darkness hours, 10 meters usually isn't open. And suddenly, you know what? Suddenly, you just tune it, and it's alive with signals because of Sportic e-skip. And, you know, I remember listening to 10-meter band at midnight and many hours through the night with the FM repeaters and everything. It's pretty cool. Mike Westerfield, if you want to donate, you need a PayPal account. And once you have your PayPal account set up, the Yahoo email that I just posted, you just say that you want to send whatever amount to that email, and it's going to work. Or, if you don't have a PayPal account, you can, with a credit card, go on patreon.com, where I posted. You set your limit. You say how much you want to give, maximum. And it could be a one-time donation. It could be a regular donation every month. It's all up to you. Be very careful. I have one guy that's extremely mad at me because basically he didn't understand the Patreon system, and at some point it tried to retrieve something like $700 out of its credit card. And you know, I every month I look at the Patreon.com stuff, and I was like, oh God, they tried to get $700, and of course it was denied. And he came back to me, being very mad, saying, "Look, what's that? $700?" I said, "Look, man, you should have, you know, be careful in the way that you set it up, because you got to be careful to set it up so that it doesn't, you know, the way that he had set it up, it was like." Every time I would post something, it was like, you know, $50 would come to me, and was like, okay. So now I've been actually looking more closely at every donator on the Patreon, because I can see how they set it up. I can see what they are giving. So now, when there's new donators on the Patreon page, what I do is I check how they set it up, and if I see that it seems wrong, I send them an email and say, look, I think you set it up wrong, because from what I see here, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot at the end of the month, and I don't think that's what you want to do. Sometimes people, like him for example, he wanted to give $50, but he didn't put the check mark in. $50 was the maximum amount he wanted to give. So of course it ended up at $700 at the end of the month. So he was mad at me, and it's like, okay, look, we need to. And so, PayPal at least has one interesting thing is you just give whatever amount and that's it. So, but if for those that go on Patreon, be very, very careful with that. It's very, very important. So, well, thank you, RF Burns, Mr. Nick. Nice to have support, and it's always cool to have everybody here. St. Joseph 74, hello there. Mark Brando, hello there. R71 has been so dependable. ICOM R71 is an amazing receiver. It's one of those great classic receivers. Really, really amazing. If Donald Trump would give me just 0.1% of his fortune, not only I will never ask for donations again, I would just do a radio show every day. Donald Trump gives me, a couple of millions. I do a radio show every day. So cool, Nick. I will start saving. Thank you. Oh God. Hey, Nils Pedersen. Nice to have you on board from Sweden. Always nice to have everybody on board. It's cool to see that international audience. That is something that always makes me extremely happy to see. International audience, people from everywhere around the world. It's just so cool. So cool. So, yeah, just make sure, Mick, because it's, well, I can I can show you guys the tax returns if you want. I got nothing to hide, really, But Donald Trump does, apparently, because he does not want the tax returns. All you guys going to see with my tax returns is, well, that guy is poor. Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay. Yep. Last time we did it on a Saturday, Nick, we had 100 and we reached 118, which was the record. 118. So, slowly we're going there, slowly we're getting more and more people, and it's really cool. And and I got a great push from the Canadian International DS Club, which is which had a very nice article thanks to Sheldon Harvey that talk about what I do and how it was just great, and how it was thanking me for the effort that I bring into the hobby, having bringing together everyone that listens to the radio and trying to help in making the hobby more and more popular. And I got to say, it was really cool. So we're getting there. It's this is the only one that's growing. I do a lot of shows, and I'll be changing a lot of things in August. I'll be abandoning a lot of the shows on the Windows channel, because what's paying on the Windows channels is clearly the AdSense and the revenue coming from the popularity of all the tech videos. It's not only do I love doing this because it's my hobby, just shortwave radio and radio in general, but also it's interesting to see that it's growing all the time, and I really love it, and it's really cool. So it's fun, and it's rewarding, and I see everybody here, and it's just so cool. So Jerry says, I had to sell my house and move in the alleyway because of Patreon. Yeah. Well, I gave to Jill, and it took $10 million out of my account. Now I live in a box. I hope not. And by the way, if anybody on Patreon or anything, even on PayPal, made a mistake and sent too much, don't hesitate. You just say, hey, I wanted to send you $10 and it sent you 100, and you know what? I'm going to refund. No worries there. You guys are generous, but I'm not. Come on. I'm not a thief. I'm not here to steal anything. Hey, Southern Illinois Sen. Yes, I run my own business. I actually have two businesses. Okay, I've got Atelier Informatique, which is that's French, which is my tech job, self-employed job, and I've opened a thing called Création Tube, which is my YouTube and video and internet stuff job, and all of that is in there because I am self-employed. I do not work for anybody. I work for myself. Neil Braddon, nice to have you here from Dublin, Ireland. Pretty cool. Oh, Trump, he wouldn't pay the bills, and I wouldn't be surprised. The guy is really, really. My name is Gilles. It's a French name because I am from French. I'm a French Canadian, or as some wants to say, Québécois. And my name is Gilles, which is a French name. Neil Spitterson says, I've bought a new TVDO V115 from eBay. Radio with very nice features. Yeah, isn't it William Helms that has one that is very happy? Somebody's very happy with it. Anyways, I'm trying to remember, but apparently he is very, very happy with it, for sure. So 7285 David Arden, that is China Radio International from Albania transmitter site. That's what you're hearing on 7285 at this time, if I'm not mistaken. China Radio International from Albania transmitter site. Man Radio DXer says, Living in a Box sang a song about a cardboard box. Yes, I remember that group, Living in a Box. Living in a cardboard box, living in a box. Yeah, I even have the tune in my head a little bit. Hey, Kiss in the IRC chat room. Nice to have you on board watching the hangout. Pretty cool. Thank you for being here on the IRC chat. Sorry for guys for earlier when I forgot to actually turn on the IRC chat room. So it is China Radio International from the Albania transmitter side. Paul is living inside an ICOM R8600. Oh God. Richard, whoops, just going back here. I'm going too fast. Okay, we have Richard Patterson says hello from Warendorf, Germany, and thank you very much. Wow, a lot of people from Germany today. Really amazing. Oh, that is cool. I will keep that, Nick. Of course, absolutely. If you wish to personally sponsor, I've got no problem with that. I would be happy to have sponsors. That's something that I'm thinking of. I actually could have had ICOM as a sponsor, which I will not because they're too demanding on what they wanted. And I want to be free of what I have to say and do, so I have a lot of problems with that. To a certain point, of course, I want to respect the enterprise and everything. And I'll never say something, that is bad. But thank you for that. And you know what? We will be starting a new schedule of shortwave and radio shows in August. Okay, I'll be taking probably the month of. In July, I'll do only radio shows. So to give you guys an idea, I'm not going to do any other shows, but I'll do radio shows throughout July a little bit. But in August, a new schedule, and the new schedule will add some radio shows. I mean, we're going to have radio shows every week. I'm planning to do a Friday show all the time and a Saturday show every 2 weeks. And the reason why the Saturday show is every 2 weeks is because I do have a life. You know, I am married. And if I do a radio show every Saturday, somebody will be very mad at me. So I need to take one Saturday off. But yeah. So oh, you sent me you sent me too much, Jerry. Oh God. So thank you, Nick. You know, it's very, very, very nice of you, for sure. And you know, don't worry about the pronunciation of my name. I can tell you that. Yeah, South 66 for the first SDR, for the first time for an SDR, for somebody that, you know, wants to have shortwave, very inexpensive, $40. South 66. South 66. $40. Surprising performer. It's a wideband receiver, has shortwave, starts at 1 megahertz. Okay, it doesn't have long wave. Starts about 1 megahertz. Goes through the shortwave bands, and is also a VHF UHF receiver up to about 1.7 gigahertz. Well, you know what? PLF radio is very complex. It's just that technically, the technical term for what I am in Canada would be French Canadian. But you know, a French Canadian or will usually, because there are French Canadians, you know, in other provinces. I mean, there are French language speakers in other provinces of Canada, but the big French language province is Quebec, of course. And technically, you know, a French language guy or girl from Quebec will call himself a Québécois. But I like to say French Canadian because I don't want to offend anybody. You know, I rather use the French Canadian term because technically that's what I am. You know, I am in a country that's Canada. So, and you know, using the Québécois term sometimes offends some people. So you got to be careful, you know. So, a French cute girl that doesn't answer your messages, any suggestions? I don't know. It's you know, bring her to a shoe store and show her all the shoes in the world that you could buy her. Nissan Greenwich from Dublin. Nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. What else do we have? Okay, Carlos Jimenez, tired of RTL SDR TV tuner. What can I get for less than 100 euros? Yeah, you know, the Soft 66 is pretty good. Oh, you're married a French Canadian, Richard. Pretty cool. You know, if I didn't see the tribble, you know, Richard and Richard in French, I would have thought at first that your native language was French. So, cool, Cosmic Lettuce. Thank you for signing up on Patreon, and make sure that you have chosen the correct settings so that I don't get, like, you know, $10,000 out of your credit card at the end of the month. Oh, God. Yeah, les Acadiens, the Acadians, yep, absolutely, Richard. We forget about those from time to time, but they are there also. Yeah, the French Canadians in New Brunswick are the Acadiens in general, Paul. So, oh God. Okay, what else do we have? John Young talking about how he made rocket engines with the matches and the CO2 cartridges. Hey, Adrien, salut, ça va bien? F4GVE, and nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. Oh, that's true. And Nils Pedersen is mentioning. You know, I was saying at the beginning of the show that Tom Styles, AMRAD 88 channel is fantastic. and he's mentioning how he's got a review of the additivity of V115. So bought for a total of $17. Wow, that's kind of cool. Not expensive for a radio, I can tell you that. Rob Bender says, my wife works in a shoe store, I can tell you. Yeah, PLF radio. It's very, very, it's just so complicated. It's way too complicated here, I gotta say. Could be much, much more. Southern Illinois saying, you know what? I don't want. I get it every time I get to the YouTube page. It tells me, oh, you want to enable Power Chat. So Power Chat is a feature of the YouTube channel where you can have your comment kind of bold and more visible to me. But to have that, you actually pay an amount. So for example, if I enable Power Chat and you want to give me something, you can actually use the Power Chat mode and say, hey, I'm going to donate $10 for this comment that I will post on Power Chat. Now, I see it all the time. For now, I haven't decided to really do it. As for donating Southern Illinois Sand, like I said, you can use patreon.com. There's PayPal account, but there's patreon.com. On patreon.com, you don't need a PayPal account. You can directly with a credit card. So, but I don't know. I don't want to activate the Power Chat. Not yet, anyways. Maybe someday, but I don't know. For now, or Super Chat, something like that. Super Chat. Yeah. So for now, it's like, we'll just keep it like this. I'm not sure about that Super Chat thing yet. There was a great example at the Google I/O. They showed how they gave $500 to that channel there, that they received 500 water balloons. So I could be open to some contests like that, though. You want to see me do a ice bucket challenge for a certain amount of money? Man. Daniel Walsh says, just arrived, Texan PL 380, great reception of medium wave FM, picked up nothing on shortwave using the radio's antenna, except noise. Yeah, that's the thing. In a New York apartment, you will have a lot of noise. You'll have to go outside and find a. You'll have to, have a listening outside in a park or something. That's the bad thing about living in a city, I can tell you that. Oh God. Super Chat breakfast in Montreal, Super Chat. Hey there, Mr. Paul the Cat is just here. And he entered, he made 2 or 3 little moves, and then he just slumped on the side and was like, okay, I'm okay here. So anyways, as we continue with the amateur bands, let's continue now with one of the bands that's open pretty often. It is a great band, 15 meters. That one is from 21,000 to 21,450. So 21,000 to 21,450. It is a interesting band. Still shares slight resemblance and slight points with the 10-meter band, but because it's getting farther away, it is less dependent on solar activity. So most of the time it's still open, even with low solar activity. There are some days that it might not, but 15 meters. Once again, lower part, 21,000 kilohertz to about 21, 200, 300. You'll have Morse code, of course, data, radio teletype, PSK31. So if you want to listen to PSK31, you have 21070, PSK31. You'll have some radio teletype, 21080 to 21100, 110. you'll have JT65 21076. Above 21 to 300, no, less than that, 21 150 about, you'll have single sideband, and it's an upper sideband in general. So in Simon Templar is receiving a CW, a Morse code signal on 21031.14. So whilst David Arden, stop going down and up the stairs. It's changing the viewership. So 21,150 to 21,450 upper sideband. There's a lot of activity on the 15-meter band. It depends on the days, and slow scan television calling frequency is 21340. So that is really interesting. So let's tune around. Let's see if it's open here. 21,000. Anything here? Here we go. 21027. There's a CW contest this weekend, by the way. So we heard some CW, but there is, I believe, a CW contest this weekend. It is, so it is open right now. It's a nice adventure band. It's one of the really cool bands to listen to, for sure. So really one of the nice bands to listen to. Mostly daytime because of its high frequency, early evening, and of course, as sometimes it will be quiet when solar activity is really down, really low, but most of the time it's open. For example, here we heard CW signals, so there was some Morse code. That means amateur radar operators could have contacted in SSB in upper sideband, but obviously there was like not a lot there. So 15 meters, one of those nice amateur bands to use. Pretty cool. As for Kevin Y, hello there. Yes, it's usually pretty easy to have Kenwood parts. Most Kenwood receivers have easy parts to find. You know, for example, my old Kenwood R5000. There's even on eBay. There's like tons of pages of capacitors and boards, circuit boards to change and repair Kenwood radios. In general, there's a lot of stuff there. It's usually very easy for a Kenwood receiver. And yes, that's it for GV Adrien. Thank you. It's the CQ WPX CW contest. I didn't notice this morning. You know what? I turned on the ephedry and I put 20 meters. And you guys are going to find it funny. The beer... I put a pitcher of ice water for my beer. Now there's no more beer in it, and Paul the cat is now drinking water out of it. Well, cold fresh water, isn't it? So nice. Ghost World, yes, 15 meters, 21,000 kilohertz. Is affected by the day-night cycle, like 10 meters, like 12 meters. High frequencies, daytime mostly. In the nighttime, they usually don't propagate because the maximum usable frequency is going down too much. And usually the delayer is what's affected mostly by the delayer is the absorption that the delayer gives in the lower frequencies. Y is 6 megahertz or 49 meters international broadcast band, or why is 80 meters not propagating long distance in the daytime? It's mostly due to the fact that the D layer that forms in the daytime absorbs lower frequencies, so it just doesn't propagate. It's almost, it's ground wave mostly. So oh yeah, you know what? That's the funny thing about it, Carol, is that this morning, at the ephedry, I was looking at. Okay, wait, guys, I'm just gonna open the door because I think the cat wants to get out of the room. So here, go out. There we go. So this morning I was looking at the waterfall on the ephedry SDR, and I was noticing that, man, first of all, the number of signals that was between 14,000 and 14,100 was amazing. But there were Morse code signals all across the band, everywhere. It's like, even at 14,125, 130, where I usually hear the start of upper sideband stuff, there were CW signals. And all across the band where there's digital stuff usually, that there was these there were tons of these Morse code signals. Just funny. So Jane Dyer says, finally picking up something posted. It's a trial and error thing, I can tell you that. So oh yeah, why not? Yeah, please do PLF radio. That's the one I'm looking at right now, the ARL band plan chart. So please do share the amateur band charts, PLF radio. Absolutely. So really cool. So okay, what else do we have? Next band is another WARC band, one of those bands where there's no contests, and that actually arrived later in the amateur radio game. Is a 17 meter band. It's one that I do like a lot because of the fact that I've heard so many DX stations there. 17 meters is 18,068 to 18,000.168 or 18,168 kilohertz. So 18068 to 18168 is a great band. It is open pretty much daytime all the time. In the summertime, will be open somewhat in the evening, and depending on solar activity, it could be actually open even more. And basically, the 17 meter band is a very nice band to listen to. I've heard so many DX. There is just amazing, and it's one of my favorite little WARC bands. It's one of them that I go to. If I don't hear a lot in the 15 meter band or 10 meter band, I'll go there. Of course, same thing from 18068 to about 18100. CW Morse code 18100 to 18105. Some digital modes, including JT65 and some BPSK 31, 18105 to 18110 packet, and 18110 to 18168 upper sideband. Once again, it's upper sideband. And if I go on 18.168 and go down and see if we hear something. It's pretty quiet right now. It's very rarely quiet. I gotta say, it's rarely quiet. Usually that band is open and there's pretty much always something to listen to. So that is really a nice band to listen to. It's surprising what you can hear over there. I can tell you that. So it's something that you need to to keep listening to. And it is mostly, a daytime. It is mostly a daytime band, but it's one of those bands that is very, very interesting to listen to. Okay, did see something. Hey Keegan, X80Xer, nice to have you on board as usual. Ethan Best, hello there, no problem. Don't need to be sorry because you're late. Will the August 21 eclipse be visible in Quebec at all? I believe it is. I'm trying to. Okay, August 21 solar eclipse. Let me just check it out. So the eclipse, if I just look at the chart, just gonna check it out here. Chart. Okay, and I believe it will be, if I'm not mistaken. It's not going to be very big, but it is. I'm trying to see it here. Sorry, guys. Okay, eclipse 2017. Okay. Google Map. Let's check it out. I'm not sure. I think it is. It is. Yeah, it is going to be visible from southern Quebec as a partial solar eclipse. It will be visible from what I see here. So, yep. Will be a nice visible eclipse here throughout the afternoon, late afternoon, and well, it's that UTC time, so that UTC in the afternoon. So nice, yep. That will be a nice solar eclipse to watch. And by the way, for those that wonder, solar eclipses do alter propagation on shortwave. They do have an effect on the shortwave bands, just like day and night stuff. So pretty cool. Now that would be nice. I do a lot of astronomy stuff, and that could be nice. I don't know if there'd be some some people interested in that. That could be nice. An astronomy show on a separate channel, of course. That would be nice. So, pretty nice. What else do we have? Just checking out here. Okay, let's continue on with our little look at for GV Adrien Sejel have tested that little radio TFDO V115. I know Hamrad did a video, but I don't know if it can catch good signals on shortwave. Yeah, maybe I should have. It's not expensive. I should maybe order one and talk about it also. So that could be an interesting thing. And by the way, coming up, because we're talking about we're coming up with a special show that we'll have, shortwave show, that will talk about ultralights, because there's a specific area of shortwave of shortwave listeners that use ultralights, which are small receivers, and an ultralight receiver needs to be in a specific list. There's a list of ultralights, and some people just push their ultralights in really exotic DX stuff. So that's a show coming up also, for sure. What else do we have here? Telescope astronomy show. Yeah, why not? Maybe. I used to have a 6-inch refractor telescope, and I used to do a lot of astronomy when I was young. I don't have a telescope anymore, but I do like sky watching. For example, you guys, anywhere in the world that the sun is setting tonight, check in your northwest. After the sunset, you'll see a very nice crescent moon just above the Castor and Pollux stars of Gemini. And I plan to watch that tonight if it stays sunny like this. It will be a very nice show, very nice crescent moon tonight. Very thin crescent moon to see. Just as the sun will set, head out and start checking that part of the sky. So the telescope I had when I was young was a telescope that was given to me by a family friend. And at some point in the early 90s, I had to sell it. Me and my brother owned it. And at some point we were kind of broke. And in the early 90s, me and my brother sold it to get some cash. And I got a pretty good price for it too. So, really nice. Manrico DXer. International Space Station is cool to see. Jupiter is easy to see in the sky, night sky right now. It's that really bright star, almost the brightest star in the sky right now, in your southwest sky in the evening. So it's really, really nice. So, that's interesting. John Ritson is an astronomer. Really cool. Newtonian 10-inch. Oh, really nice. Really nice. And I had when my dad bought his chalet in La Concepcion, which was a very small town up north. We didn't have electricity, and nobody had electricity around us. And it's a spot that was amazing for the sky viewing. I mean, the most beautiful sky in the world I've seen there. You could see the Milky Way. The sky was so dark that you could actually see the Milky Way there. That was such an amazing thing to do. So, that is something I've never seen I would like. It must be amazing. Niels Peterson says where he lives has midnight sun. Never goes down in summertime. Pretty amazing. Hey, Patrick Manny. Nice to have you on board. He's got a 10-inch cave optical f7 reflector. Cool. Dave Todd. Yes, this is a Radio Shack realistic TRC 432 CB radio that works and still works well, that I have here. It's nice, Yeah, midnight sun in the summer. Oh, that's cool. Cosmic Lettuce. We'll set up something and do a live show with astronomy. So, okay. What else do we have? We have the 20 meter band. Let's talk about the 20 meter band now. 20 meter band, which is a very nice band to listen. It's probably, I would say, easily one of the most popular amateur radio bands around. It's one of those bands that is amazing for the diversity of signals that you get. And basically, it is one of those bands that I check almost all the time. Even in the summertime, what's really cool with the 20 meter band is that, for example, here, it's almost always 24 hours in the summer. It's kind of so cool, and it's just amazing to tune around and have all the signals. Like in the summer evening time, you get a lot of Europeans that actually send their signals over the North Pole towards North America, which makes it pretty amazing I gotta say. So it's really really nice, and it's one of the best and the coolest bands I can tell you out there. So 20 meters, of course, the band plan of 20 meters is the lower part once again, Morse code, around 14070 to 14095 radio teletype. There's beacons, by the way, the NCDXF beacons on 14100. We'll have to talk about that at some point in a future show because it's some interesting thing to listen to. Packet 14100, 14112, and upper sideband mostly in the upper up to 14350. So 14,000 to 14,350 is a 20 meter band. An amazing band to listen to any time of night or day because it often is 24 hours. In the summertime here, 24 hours pretty much. In the winter time will be mostly daytime up to early evening. So it depends where you live. And it's an amazing band. It's one of the most used bands. So basically almost every amateur radio goes on the 20 meter band. It is one of those bands that's almost always open and always cool to listen to. And you know, if I want to have a little dabble of DX in here, you know, exotic stations, 20 meter band is one of them. It's one of the best amateur bands, and it is upper sideband. There's a little bit of AM around 14285, 14290. I've heard of some AMers sometimes. There's slow scan, the best, I would say the best frequency for slow scan television, 14230, one of the best, and it's amazing. 20 meters in the summertime, 24 hours pretty much. In the wintertime, more of a daytime band. Amazing band. Let's tune on 14 megahertz and see what we can hear. You can see that CW contest. Somebody calling CQ on 14235. Not a lot of activity right now, but except for that CQ caller on 14235. Sounds like a European station of some sort, maybe. So, 20 meters, 14,000 to 14,350. An amazing band, one of the best bands. And the beacons, yeah, 14.100 beacons. It's there are beacons scattered all around the world. They each transmit at a specific time. If you have an Android or an iPhone or an Android phone, there's the NCDXF Beacons app, which shows you what beacon is transmitting at a specific time. Usually what they do is they broadcast their Morse code ID and then 3 tones at something like 100 watts, 10 watts, 1 watt, or something like that. But I don't remember the wattage exactly. And they're scattered all around the world, so it gives you an idea of where to propagation works. It's kind of cool to listen to that throughout a full cycle, and it's very, very nice. They're scattered all around different frequency ranges. We'll need to talk about that at some point because it's very interesting, for sure. So yeah, PLF, right now I had some, as you see, I tuned around. I had calling station on 14235, and I had tons of CW signals on the lower part. So it's really cool. FR Adrien says 20 and 40 meters is favorite bands. Pretty cool. So yes, CW contest. And it really shows on the 20 meter band. Very, very popular. So really, really nice. What else do we have here? Oh, I remember. You're talking about hearing Skip on the CB radio. Dave Top. I remember having those little cheap walkie-talkies that were on channel 14 when I was young, and being mad because Skip made the channel 14 almost useless to talk on the little cheap portable walkie-talkies. The only thing I would have, I hope you have some really good blinds there, Nils Peterson, because the only thing is that I would drive me mad out of the midnight sun is that, you wake up and you open your eyes and there's always some light because it's sunny outside. So, hey, Rafal Druksak, nice to have you on board. And, well, there's a lot of amateur. You'd be surprised at how fast some amateur radio operators can send and receive Morse code. But yes, there are some people that send Morse code using a computer. And yes, they can send. I've seen people sending. I've seen people sending like 70 words per minute in Morse code using computers on the 20 meter band. I can tell you that. F4GB says, heard IZ something. Yeah, that I wasn't sure actually, but I do think it is an Italian station. Indeed, I do think. Tom Perks, I think I have the same. No, that's a Pro 2006. This one is a Pro 2006. But I used to own a 2022 that I sold to a friend of mine, that I believe he still has it. Really loved the Pro 2022. It was a nice scanner, but I wanted to have the top of the line, so I got the Pro 2006 here at Tom Perks, actually. So what else do we have here? William Hem says, my dad had a realistic Navajo TRC 23A with a quarter over half wave length base antenna. Wow, yeah, 23 channels before the 40 channels came out. At first, they were all 23 channels. Long 2112, hello there, nice to have you on board. Getting a lot of voice USB between about 8080 and 8190 kilohertz. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Skip is when a signal bounces out of the ionosphere, basically. That's pretty much what we call skip. So, really nice. What else do we have here? Checking quickly. What else do we have? Okay. Okay. Yeah, the Pro 43 scanner, yeah, for the air shows. It has the airband and the military airband also, so it's pretty nice for that, for sure. Yes, Southern Illinois Sand, CB radios required a license up to, I believe, the early 80s. And in the early, somewhere in the mid 80s, they decided, okay, the hell with it, no more licenses. But when I got this, I believe when I got this when I was 13, I needed a license, but I didn't have one. And I don't believe a lot of people had them at that point. So, at some point they just said, okay, the hell with it, you know what, nobody's getting a license. But somewhere, I believe it's somewhere in the mid-80s, they decided, the hell with it, no more licenses needed. Take care, PLF Radio. Always nice to have you on board. DHR Williamson, hello there. Any recommendations for shortwave listening antenna? I'm now using a PA0 RDT mini whip. If you have the money for, apparently the Walbrook is what some of the best you can have out there for low noise. Apart from that, if you get out of a Wellbrook or a loop, you've got a mini whip. I don't really recommend much more than a long wire or something like that, just for the fun of it. But mag loop, anything that is loop, magnetic loop antennas and stuff like that, great antennas. So yeah, well, here, Nils, I tell you that because here we, in June, okay, at June 21st, when the longest day of the year, already here the sun rises at about 5 a.m. and sets at 9 p.m. So I am a guy that wakes up around 8:30 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning. So that period from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. when I get up, I just open my eyes at 5:30 a.m. It's like there's the sun, and where my bedroom is, the sun is directly in there. So it's like, okay, oh God. And so for that purpose, I like winter because of the long nights. Hey, Rich in Atlanta, Georgia, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. Have you ever been able to hear Alice or Cole Maritime Forces Radio? No, I've not. Really not. So take care, Simon Templar. Have a good time mowing the lawn. Take it easy. Don't work too hard. Anthony Worthman, hello there. Still has an old Cobra. Think we'll dig it out. Why not? You're in Alaska, Anthony? Cool. Why not? I like those radios to be here. I don't use it really a lot, if at all, because there's almost no one on CB anymore. But I like it to have it working. It's kind of cool. So, it's kind of nice. Okay, next band is another work band. It's one of the only bands, by the way, that has no voice on it. And it's the 30-meter band. 30-meter band is 10,100 to 10,150. It is a Morse code and digital mode only band. And so from 10,100 to 10,150, in there you'll have Morse code, and mostly on the upper part, radio teletype, JT65, BPSK, 31, and so on. Don't worry about it, Matt Radio DXer. I'm not forgetting. Actually, I am thinking about something for when I come back in August. And there's a lot of things going to be changed here, so we're going to check that out. So, Okay, so 10,100, 10,150. That one, at that frequency range, is pretty much a 24-hour band. You'll receive stations from everywhere, and it's, at any time of day or night. In general, you got something to hear on that 30-meter frequency range. Sometimes in the very long doldrum of winter, in December, January, you might sometime have a little hard time listening, but in general, it's pretty much always open to listen to. But there's no voice on the 30-meter band. No voice at all. Nils Persson says, is having a Lapin Kulta beer. So no woman, no yeah, they all think we're strange, listening to Shortwave and having, listening to a guy like me talking about the amateur bands and everything is like, what the hell is that show? What the hell is that show? I can tell you that. What a good program to learn Morse code, Kevin. Why? If you have a smartphone, there's actually many apps for a smartphone to learn Morse code. But you know what? One of the things I have to say the most is that I just got distracted here. What was I talking about? Okay, so Man, I forgot what I was talking. Okay, for Morse code. So one of the best things, if you want to learn Morse code, Kevin, it's even more interesting. W1AW has a very interesting Morse code, course, if you want, and it's on the shortwave bands and the amateur bands. And every night they broadcast at like 5, 7, 10, 12, 15 words per minute, something like that. They start slow and they go faster. And every night you can practice with them. They usually send out in Morse code. They're sending the Morse code, which is articles out of the QST radio magazine. And it's a great way to learn Morse code and being on the radio at the same time. So it's pretty cool for that also. So, Okay, the other band, and yes, as I did see a comment here, maximum usage of 200 watts for 30 meters. I do not have that detail here. I've got a simpler chart here, so there are some, I'm not going into the details. I'm not going to the details, but the amateur bands have all sorts of little quirky details, and depending on the license that you have and everything, it's you don't have access to every band all the time and all the power, and there's tons of rules around that. Something else it understands says, Jill, my opinion is amateur radio should not have crazy rules. The FCC does not own this airspace. There's a big debate with that, Southern Illinois Sand, and that's why there's pirate radio and there's all sorts of things. Some people are simply thinking that there's just the government shouldn't own the radio frequency spectrum and enforce rules on that. I think they are there, mostly to kind of try to prevent chaos. After that, I don't know. It's I do think there's maybe too many rules, and that could be simplified a lot. But I know, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of that's happening. But you know what? The rules do prevent chaos from happening. Already it's complicated on the radio bands, even on the amateur bands. So many idiots and so many frequencies with idiots on them permanently. So already it's a little bit chaotic. So the positive of that is it keeps the chaos out of the bands and tries to regulate a little more. Now, up to what point the FCC and all of these organizations, even the ARRL, the American Radio Relay League, there are a lot of amateur radio operators themselves that are not super happy with a lot of the things that they do. But I think there's a need for some rules, or else it's chaos everywhere on the bands. So we've got to remember that. But I don't know. There's all sorts of things that are kind of complex here. I can tell you that. Jane Dagger, don't get me going about net neutrality. I'm going to go berserk with net neutrality, especially with the FCC and that new idiot that they put there. Man, I can tell you, I'm going to go crazy. So, where's my 20? Montreal, Quebec, Canada. That's where my 20 is, if that's what you're asking, Anthony. So, I would say what's sad about the regulations and the rules is that they aren't necessarily always enforced in a good way, in a good manner. They aren't necessarily always enforced to provide the best. Yes, I am for net neutrality, Carol. The nut job there is not that I am for net neutrality totally. And but the FCC right now is destroying all of it. And so anyways, those rules are not always for the amateur community. Like, look, the FCC rules now of net neutrality is breaking down net neutrality. Net neutrality is a good thing for everyone because it ensures that every bit is equal, that everything is treated equally. That's not what's happening. FCC is breaking everything now. So that means an ISP, an internet service provider, can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to charge you $69.95 for your unlimited internet, but if you want to have YouTube, it's $10 more, because now we can charge you for YouTube, because YouTube takes too much bandwidth. That this guy in Canada doing this Shortwave show, and our internet service providers across the United States are being, overwhelmed by the bits that are transmitting because of this guy in Canada. Joking. But that's what the ISPs want. That's what now they're giving them, and that is a bad thing. And the FCC here, they got 2.6 million comments, by the way, for that. 70% of these comments are, we want to keep net neutrality, and they are not listening. And their biggest damn problem of the FCC is that it is ruled by the government and does what the government wants, and that's not the way it should be. Actually, all of these government things should listen to what people want, and they aren't, and that's a major issue and a major problem. I can tell you that. So anyways, I'm going to start ranting if I continue talking about net neutrality and the FCC rules and everything. Oh God. But man. So a political technology show. Oh God. I already do half of that on my Windows channel, okay? When I talk about these guys that are deciding, it's just, oh man. And yes, one of the things that I saw, I don't know who posted the comment, but when there are some contests, it is true that it's a free for all. I like contests on amateur radio bands for the DXing part, because it's cool. You hear country you never hear. But you know what? What I don't like about contests, it kind of takes away the fun part of the amateur bands. If you're not a contester, you won't be able to have a contact on the ham bands on a contest day. Okay, there's award bands, they are there for that, but I mean, say a little Saturday morning coffee, and you're like, hey, I want to get on the air and have a little contact with a friend somewhere. And then, bam, it's the ARRL SSB Worldwide Contest. Forget it. You will not have a place to call for anything, because they're all smacked right next to each other, all calling CQ like crazy, and forget it. The ham bands are owned by the contesters. I gotta say that there could be a different way of doing a contest. That's for sure. So, oh man, Gilligan's Island. The official Shortwave Rant show. So it's like, man, it's like just crazy when you think. Richard says, tell me about it, Jill, and they won't move off. Oh, no, okay. Say that you have, I heard one last year. 80 meter band. We have local net here on, I believe it's 3765, lower sideband. They are there every day of the year. And last year, one started ranting at a US guy because on 3765, that guy was calling CQ for his contest. He didn't want to have an idea at all of changing frequency. He didn't want to have anything to do with that, and he was going completely berserk. I was like, okay, that is not the cool side of amateur radio. Okay, we're seeing the bad side of amateur radio. It's like listening to 7200 lower sideband. Yes, Voice of Turkey 9830 is right here with some nice music. Very strong signal, S9 plus 20. Voice of Turkey in English 9830 with some music right now. Yes, I did love Gilligan's Island a lot. Yeah, that could be a nice one. DHR Williamson says as a nice one. It should have there should be some kind of unwritten. Just out of it. Let's look at how separated the bands are. Morse code and upper sideband and stuff like that. These are rules that are not official rules on that if you transmit single sideband on 14050, you're not illegal. You're just not following pre-established band plans, basically. It's like if you're in lower sideband on the 20-meter band, you're not illegal. You're just not following these standards that everybody's accepted to do. So that could be one, a rule that says first 100 kilohertz of a band is, no contesting there, or something like that, or the last 100 kilohertz or whatever. But keep part of the band just like, okay, no, look at radio teletype contests. I mean, usually on 20-meter band, 14080 to 14100, pretty much you hear radio teletype. Radio teletype contest, they're from 14060 to 14150. They are scattered all over the place. Amazing, can tell you that. So yeah, Gilligan's Island, love that, can tell you that. Richard says, Turkey, S9 plus 10 plus 20 here. Good copy, cool, pretty cool. Right now is the Cuban number lady, apparently. Let's check it out. Yeah. So, 17480 is Cuba with her little Cuban lady giving out numbers at spies. I should have not jot down those numbers. Oh, man. What else do we have here? I'll rant the last time of if anyone wants to help me out, donations are accepted through PayPal. They help me a lot. You guys, you have no idea how they help me a lot in continuing what I do. So thank you for everybody that have donated. I've got several people donated today. I want to thank everybody. I had a list here, but I don't have it right now. But I'm going to go back and thank everybody. Thanks everyone that have donated. We've got some nice donators today. PayPal at the Yahoo email that I'm sending here. And also you can become a patron at patreon.com/radio and computers. Just make sure that you check out the rules correctly because they're very important. And no problem, F. Blasty, nice to, and thank you for your donation that you gave me. It's very, very much appreciated. So really, really cool. You want to ask the Cuban lady out for dinner? So what do you think of the dinner? 5, 5, 3, 5, 9. Oh God. Imagine you go out with that lady and she just responds to you in numbers all the time. Okay, I'll stop talking. Oh God. And so thanks everybody that have donated, by the way. Well, I still haven't had that $1 million, Jerry. I'm waiting for it before I refund. Oh God. She sounds like, I don't know, those old communist women, from the USSR times. Oh God. Yes, I want Jane Dagger. I want to have some stew, and I'll bring the wine, and we're gonna talk about radio and tune the bands and eat stew, and I'm sure it's pretty good too. And I can smell it here almost. We need this smello thing for internet now. So she's reading the menu prices. Yes, Scotty tier 6. 1995. Oh God. Cuban lady ordering Chinese takeout. Oh God. So I can try for the Pirates before I continue with the amateur bands. There's something on 6885. I hear a carrier on 6885. David in Barcelona says Rich in Atlanta. David in Barcelona says dislikes the aspects of contests. So many high power. That is one thing also. There's not everybody has high power, and yes, there are some really high-powered stations. I can tell you that are there all the time, and they're like dominating the bands. That also is something. There should be. There should be a power limit, a lower power limit on contests. I don't know, 100 watts, maximum 100 watts. You're not allowed to use more than that. A lot of them have kilowatts, if not more. You hear that guy from Slovenia that has a kilowatt and a half. What the hell? 1500 watts? You're burying everybody else. So, Ethan Best says there's a pirate on 6950 AM. And, cool. And tonight being tonight, No, Man Radio DXer, they've moved to 5200 now on that frequency range. I believe that station that was there is now on 5200 kilohertz. So hey Joey D, nice to have you here. Okay, continuing the band plan of amateur radio. If you don't want to end up in 6 hours time. I know some of you would say, well, why not? I want to be here. A very consistent viewer tonight. 90, we're at 90 right now. It's stayed pretty much stable from 80 to 90, 91, 92. Lots of people watching. Pretty cool. So, they moved my Radio DX. They moved a month or two ago from 5150 to 5200. But I haven't seen reports of anyone listening to it recently. So, yeah, I know, Carol T. No, just 100 watts. Of course, with those beams and everything, you can really boost that. But nah. So, well, Niels Pedersen, you're trying to have that Cuban lady say the right number. Oh God. Okay. A rash is persistent, listeners are steady. Oh God. Okay, 40 meters we're now. 40 meters, another interesting band. 40 meters, a band that I like a lot. It's pretty much a 24-hour band also. On 40 meters, you miss tons of things, Bullfrog. You miss the best, my ranting. No, I did not get naked. The view count would go from 90 to minus 10. So yeah, it's been much more sporadic, MDK2, exactly. I've not seen reports of 5200 the pirate much. Maybe they're a little scared of getting caught or something. So 40 meters, 24 hours in the daytime. In the daytime, it's more of a localized band, so you'll hear amateur stations from several hundred kilometers away talking with each other. Often, for example, here local hams in the South Province of Quebec talk together on 7070. And so in the daytime, localized. Nighttime, international. It's really amazing. For example, last winter, almost every night for I don't know how many weeks, that AM station from South Africa was coming in on 7133, lower sideband. And boy, I had a lot of fun listening to that guy. You know, around local midnight here, about 0500 UT. And the guy would be there from like 04 to about 05, 5:30, and then he would leave, and it was just so cool. 40 meters, another great amateur band. Now that one is in lower sideband. You know, all the bands that we talked about above were all upper sideband. This one is a lower sideband for voice. It is, okay, but remember one thing. You got to remember that everything that is digital is always upper sideband. But if you take out digital, the voice part of 40 meters is lower sideband. And of course, the bottom part, there's Morse code. And of course, around 7040, some BPSK, some RTTY, 7080 to 7125, RTTY, BPSK, JT65 on 7076, I believe. It goes from 7,000 to 7,300. And it is a mostly for the DX part, evening, nighttime band is amazing. But it is 24 hours. You'll hear AM stations all the time on that band. This morning, I was on the Fedry around local. It was about 11 a.m. local. You know, sun was up for many hours. I looked at the 40 meter band, and there were a couple of frequencies with northern U.S. states hams from New York, Maine. There were some from Quebec, Ontario. So in the nighttime, of course, some DX. You know, when the sun sets, European stations. Even now, and as we're getting closer, it's almost 7 p.m. here. We'll start hearing some DX from Europe coming in here. A great band. AM frequency 7290 kilohertz. Often hear some AM frequencies. So that's a great band. And yes, that is true, because depending on where you are in the world, because here I'm on the ARRL frequency list. And one other thing is, this is American frequencies. Depending on where you are, and as F4GV Adrien is saying, for region 2, which is Europe, 70, okay, wait. So yeah, for region 2, I'm getting mixed up at the regions, but anyways, for Europe, 7,000, 7,200. For North America, it goes up to 7,300. And one of the things you got to know is 7,200 to 7,300. Very important to know that that range is also shared with international broadcasters. And so you could have some stations there that will interfere with amateur radio signals from time to time. For example, earlier we're talking about China Radio International from Albania on 7285. Well, that could interfere. Just want to see. Jerry is hearing music on 6950 AM. Let me just check it out again here. I haven't got nothing on 6950 over here. I heard Wolverine, I think it was last week, on Saturday night, which was had been such a long time. Such a long time. So yeah, 7300, 7200, 7300 is AM is international broadcasters in Europe. Hams go up to 7200. In North America, hams are allowed up to 7300. For sure. Anthony D. Iorio says, how much better are the bands when the solar cycle is at its peak? Okay, this is a subject that is interesting. Now, when you got to just think about the bands of, let's say, the low frequencies. When you're in the lower frequency range, below 10 megahertz, the solar cycle has an impact, but it's not that big. If you're in the, I don't know, if you're in the international broadcast bands like 6 megahertz, solar cycle has not much of an effect there, because it is a frequency that is pretty much always supported by the ionosphere. The solar activity, when it gets high, affects much more the higher part of the shortwave spectrum. Anything above 10 megahertz will have an effect, immediate effect, of getting more ionization from the ionosphere. So, nighttime, you'll hear stuff very often in a higher frequency range. You'll hear daytime frequencies and a higher frequencies propagating when it's sometimes not propagating when it's in the low part of the cycle. It will support also some frequencies later in the night. The time that it takes for that ionosphere to reorganize when the sun sets is much longer because the ionization is so strong. So it does affect a lot. And I mean, if I have a choice, I prefer having high solar activity, because every band is increased and every band is great in a higher solar activity spectrum. When there's more solar activity, more ionization, the higher bands propagate better. Lower bands, even if you're at 6 megahertz, doesn't change that much, but at least you get a wider spectrum of listening. When you're in the low part, we're getting in the low part of solar activity right now. Well, the higher bands are not as good, and sometimes even not propagating because the maximum usable frequency is getting down. So they're more, sometimes a little more, a few hours a day, at the higher part of the frequency range, maybe just a few hours each day. But in the winter time, lower solar activity means 9 megahertz, 10 megahertz, 11 megahertz might not propagate as well, because now the ionization of the ionosphere is so small compared to when it's high, that it doesn't take a long time for the MUF to really drop very low. So, but if I had a choice, I'd like to live in a world where there's high solar activity and high solar flux all the time. But it doesn't happen, unfortunately. Oh God, what else do we have here? So 7,000, 7,300 in North America, 7,000, 7,200 in Europe. Great band to listen for for amateur radio operators, and it's lower sideband for the voice. Okay, what else do we have here? Ghost World. So, Joe, the VHF UHF ranges, which normally punch through the atmosphere during the high solar activity, they are bent and propagated easier. Part of them, the lower not the UHF. UHF is not affected by solar activity. It's too high of a frequency in general. The VHF part is different. The VHF part is going to propagate up to a certain frequency when solar activity is very high, just like sporadic E-skip can do it also. That means in very high solar activity, and we've seen that in the 50s when the solar activity was very high, One of the biggest cycles ever happened was like in 57, 58. TV stations that were in 50, 60 megahertz would propagate from Europe to North America. They were interfering. In very high solar activity, you could have the lower part of the FM band, 88 megahertz, depending on where you live. Some people have stations at the 76, 77 megahertz range. But lower part of the FM band is going to basically propagate like shortwave signals. Why? Because ionization is so strong that it will actually propagate low VHF frequencies. Brett Wayne says love 6 meters. 6 meters could be propagated by very high solar activity. And of course, also sporadic E-skip. So it's interesting for that. It's interesting for that. Well, you know what, Joey D? Listen a little more, because I've this morning. Right now, I don't hear anything on Channel 6, but yesterday morning, Channel 6 CB at skip, a lot of skip, and as we're getting in summer, the sporadic E-skip will really increase that, and we'll have many days where we're going to have propagation going on. Can tell you that. J Dagger, does the magnetic field affect it too? Yes, it is. It does totally, because what's happening is when there's solar activity, when there's a solar flare, and the solar flare actually hits the magnetic field here on Earth, the way that the magnetic field gets reorganized often will induce higher absorption in the ionosphere, and that will change the propagation characteristics. So yes, geomagnetic activity will change, will sometimes lower some part of the spectrum, will sometimes change the pattern. So east-west signals are suddenly weak, but north-south signals are increased. It also has an effect. There's things like aurora scatter on the VHF frequency ranges. There's all sorts of phenomena that is extremely interesting, by the way. Extremely interesting. And, the amateur radio operators exist for one reason. I get a lot of people that, and I'm sure a lot of hams out there have heard people saying, hey, you know what? I don't see why amateur radio operators exist in 2017. And the reason they do exist is because radio is still experimental. We still don't know half of it. We still don't know tons of things about radio propagation. A lot of the things we know about radio propagation are actually thanks to the amateur radio community. Some of the hams out there are darn serious in trying to learn and understand things we don't yet. Sporadic E-skip. We're not really sure why. We're not really sure why at some moment there's a cloud of ionized particles that suddenly propagate signals. Why is it there? What made it appear? There are theories, but nobody can tell you, sporadic E-skip is because of that. It's a mix of all sorts of things. And so amateur radio is there for that. It's still there for that. Anyone that will tell me amateur radios, or even radio in general, I don't understand why we still continue doing that. I'm sorry, but you're just an idiot. Sorry, but you are. Okay? If you're looking at this and it's like, oh, this guy's talking about shortwave radio, man. Well, look at something else. You're an idiot. Oh God, man. So it's just a nice, and you just got to. Brett Wayne says Channel 6 in Western New York right now. So you know, it's amazing. Well, thank you, F. Leslie. Nice to have you on board. It's always fun to do these shows, and it's fun to see people that that enjoy and learn from what I do. If you learn something of what I say, it's really cool because I was a newbie, and I can tell you one thing. As a newbie, you know nothing, and you're like shortwave and amateur radio and everything is so it's just so mysterious, and I was there at that moment where you didn't know anything. So thank you, Francisco Orozco, Oscar Welsh, Mike Westerfield, Vincent Fogarty, John Clinton, Dominic Casarino, Ralph Bender, Matthew Kelleher for donations today. Much appreciated. You guys are great. Thank you so much. And for those that have not donated or have never donated, think about it. I think it's cool to help out. If you like what I do here, it's something that, and you think it's something that's worth continuing. Really helps me a lot, and I want to thank you all. Really, really cool. So amateur radio is still is still something we're learning about. Lock2112 says, I've been nearly 50 years in HF. The learning never stops. The day the learning stops is, I believe, because you got bored and aren't really you aren't interested anymore, and maybe you should do something else if that happens. I can tell you. So well, I'm trying, but the 6950 has nothing here. Really nothing here. 6950, absolutely nothing right here. So yeah, channel 6 for those that don't have a CB. 27,025, 27025 on a radio. That's channel 6 CB. So it's pretty cool. Okay. Well, without shortwave, we wouldn't be here, because there wouldn't be this show, and we would be doing something else, I would say. And it's something that's cool. It's I'm happy to have, I'm 48, so of course I'm getting older, and you're getting older is not necessarily the coolest thing in the world. But one of the things for sure is that I am extremely happy to have seen one thing on shortwave: what the international broadcast bands looked like in the 80s. And some of you that are older than me have seen what it looked like in the 70s. And I'm sure the memories that you guys have of that, and the memories I've got, are so magnificent, are so fantastic. It's something I am honored to have lived through, with all these stations there. And I think in every hobby, when you start something new, the new side, the something that makes it really new, it's just amazing. So it's just so cool. I'm so happy to have seen what the 80s looked like on shortwave bands, and it's really, really cool. Yeah, Brett Wayne, that's pretty much how I am. The day I'll stop learning is the day I'll die. That's how I am. Absolutely. Can tell you that. Anthony Worthman is 67. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And it's nice to have all of you here. It's nice also, what I find really interesting is to see how some that we've got, and I've been able to get some of the young generation also that didn't know what this was. Ethan Best, wow, 19. Cool. Cool. Nils Peterson, 48 in June. So we're pretty much the same. Close, very close. Yeah. You know, I don't feel like 48 at all. I mean, I feel like I don't know, here, at least here, I'm probably not of the age, I'm not even at the drinking age yet. Red Wayne, 56 on the 17th of May. Cool. Dan 8005, you're 15, wow. Have you been watching, is it your first time watching, or have you watched previous shows? Kind of cool. Kind of cool. Mix 60. Angus Foot is 19. KC135R. Hey there. Nice to have you here. 63. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. Patrick Manny. 71 years young, never gonna grow up. Yeah, pretty much what I am too. MDK2, 46 going on 47. Oh, God. Yep, never too young to start. Tom Perks, 42. Wow. You know, when I look at your guys giving your age, I'm always thinking of a tech job that I went to. A very, very nice old woman. And she... the reason I went there for a tech job was because she wanted to go to she wanted to do a trip to visit Moscow, Russia. And I remember asking her if it's not impolite, what age she was. And she looked at me and she said, "Young man, all I gotta say is you never ask a lady what age she is." And I was like, okay. But the funniest thing is, you know, when sometimes they don't think about anything, it's like, okay, now I need your birthday to fill out the form. It's like, okay, she's 87 years old. But it was just funny. You know, so those moments is like, yeah, okay. You know, I don't know, it's really a girl thing. You know, that thing of not giving your age is really a girl thing. You know, I don't really care about saying I'm 48. I don't care about, you know, the day I'm going to say I'm 70. I don't see why why I should care about that. But it's very a woman thing, you know. It's like, well, don't ask me my age. Oh, man. JDX 42 going. Carlos Jimenez 35. Nice. We should do an average here. Really nice. Max, hello there, 42. Radio DX is 40. The HR Wilson is 34. Really nice. Jane Dagger says, me too, all these youngsters make me 61. That's young. Ghost World 29. Feels 19 mentally. But at least you're older than me mentally. Oh, God. St. Joseph 74, got in Shortwave in 76. License in 78 at the age of 12. Wow. That is cool. Hey, Dan 805. Yeah, trunking this is not a channel for trunking. The VHF UHF channel would be good for trunking. F. Lassie 57 in June. Wow. This is so cool to see everybody here. Raptor David in Barcelona 24. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Richard Tribble started Shortwave listening at 13. 59 years ago. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Really amazing. Nukin Foods. Hello there. 57. Steve P. 47. Wow. Beast. Alden. Hello there. 59. God. Joseph Nusa. Hey. Also consider myself lucky having heard shortwave in the 80s in Central Europe. We were living as foreigners in East Germany. Wow. These were crazy times, you know. Cold War, the East, the West, Germany divided in half. Wow, that was something. Something. Jane Dagger. Oh man. It's on the Windows channel. I got 2 or 3 women that follow me that just find me sexy and say hey, and they're like, you know, 70 or 80. It's just kind of funny. It's just kind of cool. Feels good, you know, when people tell you that. Oh God. So take care, Niels Pedersen. It was nice to have you on board. We're gonna just finish the amateur bands. We're 3 hours and 5 minutes. Wow, 3 hours and 5 minutes into the show. Pretty cool. Really cool. So the next band that we go to is an exception to the rule of the lower bands that are lower sideband. It's an upper sideband band, and it is divided into specific channels. It is shared with utilities, so you got to be careful. Maximum radiated power, 100 watts PEP, and it's the 60 meter band, which is 5 megahertz channels. Now, I will here give the frequencies for the American or North American band, but in Europe, I believe there are different bands. So 5330.5, 5346.5, 5357, 5371.5, and 5403.5. These are good for upper sideband, voice, or Morse code, radio teletype, or all sorts of digital modes. And these are the 5 channels allocated to North America. But I believe in Europe it's different. There are some different things here. So it's an interesting band, mostly nighttime, but it's a very interesting band. One of the most popular evening, nighttime bands, 80 meters. 80 meters, I believe, pretty much everybody that is in it's pretty interesting to use at night. It is from 3,500 to 4,000 kilohertz, and it is a lower sideband on voice. Lower part 3,500 to 3,590, pretty much, or 570 is Morse code. 3570 to 3600, radio teletype, data of all sorts, JT65 on 3576. 35. There's a voice pretty much from 3600 to 4000 or 3999 kilohertz, and lower sideband. And in here there's some AMers 3875, 3885. There's SSTV 3845, and there's a DX window which is 3790 to 3800 kilohertz, where rare stations can appear. It's a nice band to use evening, night. It's one of those bands, you know, when there's nothing much to listen to. Sometimes I'll go down to the 80 meter band in evening or night. There's almost always some AM operators, like, you know, talking. It's mostly nighttime because of its low frequency. It's not a very far away band most of the time. Doesn't mean you can't DX, and some people have DX the world on 80 meters. But interesting band. Take a listen. And we'll take a look at the last band, which is not technically shortwave. The last band is 160 meters. This is medium wave. Shortwave is technically from 330 megahertz. So 160 meters is a nighttime band. It is not used that much, but it's interesting. Here I hear a few amateur radio operators in the evening around 1850 kilohertz. 1,800 to 2,000 kilohertz. Lower sideband for voice, and of course CW modes, digital modes, everything in there. Very interesting band. Very low frequency, lots of noise usually, but you know, there's some stuff to listen to. It is mostly nighttime because in the daytime that band is pretty much dead. And it does have some activity. It's kind of interesting. So this was a look at the amateur radio bands. I hope you enjoyed that. We didn't go into the really big details of this because there's like really a lot of details. So it's very interesting to listen to. So for GBE, Adrien says 160 meter there is 1810 to 1850. So depending on where you are in the world, the bands are actually of different size. So it's very important to check that out. So 3580 kilohertz PSK 31. Interesting. Yeah, there were a few at 19 years old, David, earlier. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, and there's also an overlay in Europe. The 75 meter broadcast band, 3900 to 4000 kilohertz. So there's but there's not a lot to hear there here in North America. So Red Wayne is on 3955 on 80 and 1940 or 1923 on 160 meters. Cool. I like listening sometimes to those on 1850 kilohertz. I often hear these guys in the northern state of New York, Maine, talking together. Kind of cool. Beast Olden says picked up an old Allied SX 190. Not picking up much on it. Going to try setting up an 80 feet wire antenna and see if it pull anything. Yeah, that might actually help it a lot, I'm going to say. Randall Clontz, hello there, says the other day got a stations from North Carolina at 730 kilohertz. Pretty good considering I live 35 miles from WGN 720. That's good. That's good because often that strong station just prevents you from listening for sure. Yeah, early morning band, that's true also. A lot of people, 80 meters. I often hear a few nets on 80 meters early morning. For sure, like Richard Tribble says. So, really nice to have everybody here. 53, William Helms. Well, Jane Dagger, thank you. I'm here for that. I'm here for that, trying to help and have people learn a lot. So take care, Mr. DHR Williamson. Always nice to have everybody on board. And pretty cool to have everybody here. So hey guys, we will say goodbye. Thank you for everybody that donated once again. Much appreciated. Really helps me a lot. Nice to have everyone on board as usual. Always cool to have all of you. And all I got to say is take care. Hack Canada, yes, there will be some Memorial Day weekend pirates for sure. That's for sure. Yep, all CRT there. Sorry. Hey, Michael Bott and Renlat. Nice to have everybody on board. So take care, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Next radio show is next Friday. And next Friday we will be June 2nd. Already the month of June. Amazing. And we will talk about the frequencies for everything that is maritime, aeronautical, and so on. We'll continue talking about the spectrum, what we can hear. Take care, everybody. It was nice to have everyone here. Once again, thank you very much for all donators. Much appreciated. Thank you for the nice comments, everyone. Pretty cool. Dave Todd, I've heard the Ontario Amateur Net on 3755 many times here in Quebec. So it was nice to have you on board. Take care, everybody. Memorial Day. Oh, it's Memorial Day in US. Okay, cool. Take care, all. Hope you enjoyed the show. Always nice to have you on board. See you soon. Next Friday, 2000 hours UTC for the Shortwave show. And have a safe weekend. Have a good time listening to the radio. 73. And see you soon. Bye-bye.